Star Wars, one of the greatest science fiction universes ever brought to life. Thousands of years span its history, millennia of conflict between the light and dark sides of the Force. But where did it all begin? How did the fabled Jedi Order come to be? Some of the answers can be found in the comic series Dawn of the Jedi, which goes all the way back to the foundation of the ancient Jedi Order on Tython. Seeking to maintain balance in the Force above all, these warrior monks are beset by a dangerous foreign threat that threatens the survival of their order. Let's dive in. On the snowy planet of Ando Prime, a massive structure with unknown origins is attended by the Dai Bendu monks, who call it the Tho Yor. They sensed it calling to them, an invitation to enter in their hearts and minds. The Dai Bendu entered the Tho Yor, unaware the same process was happening on 7 other worlds, including Kashyyyk, Dathomir, Ryloth, and Manaan. All beings who entered the Tho Yor were graced with wisdom, revelation, enlightenment, peace, and harmony. The 8 Tho Yor then flew into the deep core, to the ancient storm world of Tython, and there was a 9th ship, the largest of them all. The beings brought to Tython all sensed a swirling mystical energy, the same that brought them to the Tho Yor in the first place, but much stronger. On that day, the travelers became as one in the Force, and also became one people, Tythons. The Tythons began to study the Force, becoming living manifestations of this mysterious cosmic power. They noticed the planet depended on the balance between its 2 moons. They were called Light Ashla and Dark Bogan, and represented the light and dark sides of the Force. For each could not exist without the other, and when balance was lost, the planet fell into turmoil. The Tythons began a journey on a constant search for this balance, and became the Jedi, meaning Mystic Center. Centuries passed, and civilizations eventually grew around the scattered Tho Yor on Tython. But not everyone among the population grew to be Force sensitive, and the Jedi soon became too few to protect everyone. After 2 millennia, the non-Force sensitives were sent off Tython, to its moons, and then the rest of the star system. Many families were separated, and from then on, any Force sensitives were immediately brought to Tython to become a Jedi, an order of peace. The beings separated from Tython, the children of the Jedi, migrated throughout the system. The Jedi helped with matters in these new settled worlds, but as time passed, their reputations grew to be legendary, their abilities inspiring fear, and sometimes resentment for the sundering generations ago. One of the children of the Jedi was Queen Hadia of Shikakwa, who claimed dominion over her world and the other settler planets, refusing to answer to the will of the Force. The despot war was waged between her forces and the Jedi. Queen Hadia fell in a great battle where her army was destroyed, and many Jedi also lost their lives. And the wounds between the Jedi and the settlers were, and could never, be healed. Presently, 12-year-old Harun and her companion Rezi learn from their teacher on Tython, Master Ketu. He urges them, especially Rezi, to not become philosophically enslaved to either Ashla or Bogan. A core tenet of the Order at this time is that feelings of hate and anger are permissible, but it is important to not become enslaved or controlled by only those emotions. Meanwhile, the lush, sea-filled world of Tatooine is invaded by the Force-sensitive Rakata, the Infinite Empire. Force Hound Zesh, commanded by Predor Tolkar, assists the Rakata in hunting down Force sensitives, who the aliens deem a threat to their empire. Villages are burned and prisoners executed mercilessly, and Tolkar kills one of his political rivals, Oromun, electrocuting him with Force lightning. The central hub of power in the Rakata Empire is the world of Bis. Here, Tolkar and Zesh visit Tolkar's superior, Predor Skalnaz. He has need of Force Hound Zesh, for his own hound, Trill, has sensed a world in the deep core rich in the Force but cannot discern the exact location. Zesh confidently asserts her skills are inferior to his, and she attacks him. The Predors break up the fight, and Skalnaz orders Zesh to find the deep core world, ceding the right of conquest to Tolkar if he is successful. On Fury Station, a location of refuge for Tython settler ships, a recon team detect a foreign ship entering the system. It seems to be heading towards Tython itself, and Jedi Ranger Hawk Ryo senses a dark presence in the Force, sending a warning to the Council on Tython. Elsewhere, on Tython itself, Shae Koda studies in the Anil Kesh Temple, which is suspended over a massive chasm and is where Jedi study biological alchemy, manipulating creatures to serve the Force. However, the Force is presently imbalanced, and Shae's latest creation is disturbed. It leaps to the bottom of the chasm, followed by Shae, who is determined to prove herself to Master Quan Jang. As they fall towards the bottom, which is rumored to drive Jedi mad, she sees a vision of a mysterious armored figure. Quan Jang saves Shae and the beast, and she tells him of the vision, which seemed to summon her. He tells Shae she must follow the summons of the Force, and urges her to go. Elsewhere, the exiled Jedi Dagon Locke on Bogan also sees the strange figure. Meanwhile, on the planet of Shikakwa, Jaros Khan visits the stronghold of Baron Volnos Ryo. Ryo is trying to convince his daughter Tasha, who trained as a Jedi, to serve her family and clan. She stops an assassination attempt on Ryo by Jaros, but is also stopped by the same vision as Shae. Ryo kills Jaros, and Tasha leaves her father to follow the mysterious vision. Back on Tython, the Jedi Seknos Wrath shows off for several girls in the mysterious silent desert of Tython, summoning lightning, but is also interrupted by the vision. His grandfather arrives, concerned, for summoning a ball of lightning has never been done before, as it requires summoning only dark energies rather than a balance of light and dark. Shae, Tasha, and Seknos meet up just as a fiery ship crashes nearby. They search for survivors, but only find one. It is Zesh, wielding a laser-like sword and resembling the dark figure they all saw. Meanwhile, Master Ketu is visited by Ranger Rory Fenn, for both have been disturbed by hearing many voices crying out and dying in the Force, accompanied by an unbalanced darkness. Fenn decides to investigate the mysterious ship that crashed, to be accompanied by Master Quan Jang. The three young Jedi stand off with Zesh, who attacks them. His laser sword easily cuts through their metal weapons. Tasha is thrown against a wall and knocked out, but Seknos manages to disarm Zesh. Zesh decides to flee deeper into the abyss. Shae and Seknos override Tasha's desire to wait for the Masters, wanting to hunt the Force Hound down. Meanwhile, Jedi Rangers and Masters reach the site of the crash as they are attacked by abyss creatures. A powerful, devastating storm is brewing on Tython, perhaps worsened by the conflict in the Force. A wounded Zesh ventures further into the abysses of Ruh. He recalls how his ship exploded before crashing, but doesn't remember anything else. Now concussed, he falls unconscious. Elsewhere, Dagon Locke now senses a dark, swirling power on Tython as his eyes glow gold. The Jedi Council is greatly concerned of the arrival of the alien ship and the powerful storm buffeting Tython. Master Ketu orders all the Masters to gather at the temple so they can dissipate the storm and restore balance. Rangers Ryo and Fenn have been sent to find the three missing Jedi and the Dark Presence. The three companions are now deep in the abyss and can sense its darkness slowly corrupting their minds. Shae lashes out at Tasha, for the Twi'lek's ancestors served Queen Hadia in the war that killed Shae's parents. However, she is talked down by Seknos, and they put aside their differences to find Zesh. As for Zesh, he awakens from a nightmare in which he killed Predor Tolkar, his own master, but he cannot remember why. He rises to his feet, battling the animals of the abyss. Zesh knows that it is the destiny of the strong to eat the weak. He will not be weak. He kills without remorse. Elsewhere, it is revealed the Mad Jedi Dagon Locke was a former student of Master Quan Jang, who flies through the storm to find Shay. The three Jedi find Zesh battling a massive worm creature called a Sarl. He turns to abandon them, but is intrigued by Shay's powers in the light side. Zesh convinces her to throw him back his Force Saber, and he prepares to strike. As Seknos is knocked out, he leaps to Shay's side and aids in the battle. Meanwhile, Master Quan Jang meets up with Rangers Ryo and Fen. They see the battle with the Sarl, and Quan Jang stays behind to calm the storm as Ryo and Fen leap in. Zesh stabs the Sarl in the eye, and as it dies, lightning erupts from his body into the storm above. The Rangers discern Zesh as the source of the disturbance causing the storm, and confront him. Master Quan Jang centers himself in the Force, sensing the presences of the other Masters as he meditates. A strike of energy hits him, seemingly killing him as Zesh is similarly incapacitated. Zesh survives, but Shay takes his Force Saber and somehow igniting it, charges at him. However, she spares his life, and Zesh is taken back to the Temple of Healing. Only Shay, of all the Jedi, was able to ignite the Force Saber, as she was imbalanced in that moment and fell to anger. Quan Jang survived, but now warns Shay she must control her emotions or risk exile to Bogan. Tasha visits Zesh and asks him to let her enter his mind so he can regain his memories. She sees a dark vision of the Rakatan Empire and is greatly disturbed. Master Ketu then arrives and informs them the council has decided to send Zesh to Bogan in exile. It is revealed that Zesh disabled his ship's reporting device, which has prevented Praetor Skalnas from learning the location of Tython. Furious at his rival Tulkar's schemes, he sends his own Force Hound Trill to find Zesh and Tython. Zesh, however, now lives in the abandoned cities on Bogan, the dark moon of Tython. He recalls how he was abducted by the Rakata and indoctrinated into what the Jedi call the dark side. Zesh also remembers Shay, the Jedi he was drawn to, mystified by her power in the light side. It has been 2 months since he was exiled to Bogan. Lost and looking for his new purpose, Zesh is suddenly attacked by the exiled Jedi Dagan Locke. Locke assesses Zesh's strength, asking of his background and skill with the Force. Meanwhile, on Tython, Shay, Seknos, and Tasha resume their training, this time with Master Tabe. The three young Jedi are troubled by the Council's decision to exile Zesh, where they believe he could have been helped on the planet instead. Master Ketu visits his former master, esteemed War General Rajivari. He asks for advice on the three Jedi's visions, which bear a resemblance to Dagan Locke's. Ketu must decide whether to prepare the Order for war, or if the visions are insignificant. Back on Bogan, Locke shows Zesh a scuttled ship from the Despot War. He reveals the vision he had, which the Council alleges drove him mad, was of a creature with a single red eye carrying a sword of flame, leading a terrible army. Locke then learns of Zesh's Force Saber, which is back on Tython, and becomes convinced it was the weapon from his vision. He asks Zesh to help him build one, but to do so they must fly off-world. Stunning Locke, Zesh channels his rage and anger and is able to make the ship come back online. They fly off Bogan, looking for materials and a forge. However, in the Jedi Forges of Tython, Masters are also studying Zesh's Force Saber. Master Tem Madog notes that it seems to have a cold energy and cannot be affected by extreme temperatures. It can only be ignited by briefly channeling the dark side, but Ranger Hawk Ryo remains intrigued by its power and potential applications. Trill continues her search for Zesh in the meantime. It is revealed they were broodmates once, growing up together in Rakatan captivity and even becoming allies. Yet Zesh abandoned her if they were forced to duel, leaving her to the service of the cruel Skalnas. Now her hatred of Zesh fuels her as she closes in on Tython. Meanwhile, Tasha researches a mysterious scroll from the crashed ship that cannot be found anywhere, even in the records of the Jedi Library. Master Tur Sendin then finds her and leads her below the Temple of Calith. He shows Tasha an ancient holocron and she is able to activate it. Its owner was a Nang of the Kwa. A Nang tells Tasha that the activation of the holocron means a catastrophic event has occurred on Tython. She shows a Nang the skull, and the Master only utters Rakata and vanishes. News soon reaches the Jedi that Zesh somehow managed to escape Bogan. Shay and Seknos join a team of rangers, including Hawk Rio and Rory Fenn, to find the Force Hound. They land on Bogan and battle the Tarenta, monstrous creatures that were a failed experiment to detect bombs during the Despot War. Hawk tells the others of Locke's vision, which was also shared by him. As they were formerly close friends, he knows Locke will have gone to the crystalline world of Kreb Kor. Zesh and Locke have already landed there, but unknown to them, Trill has managed to track them. The Jedi land a team there soon after. Ranger Xana encounters Locke and Zesh and leaps forward to arrest them. Locke, however, enters her mind and tricks her into thinking she's on fire. Seknos and the brother of Rory Fenn then appear, with Seknos battling Zesh. However, a still delusional Xana is thrown off a cliff, but Seknos manages to catch her. Xana is saved, but Seknos falls to the depths below. Zesh and Locke manage to escape, and news of the encounter reaches Hawk, Rory, and Shay, who are searching the Forge world of Nox. It turns out that Seknos was rescued by Trill, who takes him to her ship, concealing her Force presence from him. She plans to use his knowledge of the system to help her hunt down Zesh. Meanwhile, Locke and Zesh have made it to Nox, where Zesh is able to construct a Force Saber. To convince the Council of the truth behind his vision, Locke now sets out to find an army. Shay and Rory Fenn, however, are able to pick up Zesh's trail using Shay's faint connection with him. It leads to a cantina, where Locke has begun talks with the former inner circle of the despot Queen Hadia. He proposes they accompany him back to Shikakwa to reclaim the planet and rise up against Tython. In his madness, Locke still wishes to save the Jedi and protect Tython, but somehow believes that arriving with this force will convince the Jedi to fight against the Dark Army from his vision. The Jedi then show up, and Hawk confronts Locke, but he escapes again. Shay battles Zesh, furious at his betrayal. Then, a tentacled monster erupts from below and drags her down. Ignoring his instincts, Zesh dives after her and rescues Shay, though he also takes her as a prisoner. Tasha takes the mysterious holocron to Masters Ketu and Rajavari in the Temple of Akar Kesh. Anang appears again and tells them of the mysterious invaders. They are the Rakata, and long ago the Kwa traveled to their homeworld of Lehon using infinity gates that allowed for near instantaneous travel. The Kwa gave the Rakata advanced technology and taught them of the Force. However, they underestimated the evil inclinations of the Rakata, who delved solely into the dark side, neglecting the cosmic balance of the Force. The Rakata embarked on a conquest of many worlds, calling themselves the Infinite Empire. They targeted Force-rich worlds, inflicting pain on their captives. They used their prisoners' hate and anger to fuel their starships, which was where Zesh served before being chosen to become a Force Hound. The Kwa were then attacked, for the Rakata wanted the technology of the Infinity Gates. After a vicious battle, most of the Kwa were killed, but not before destroying many of the gates. Master Ketu realizes the severity of the looming crisis, and orders for Zesh and Locke to be brought back to Tython, and the Rangers are summoned. Meanwhile, Locke and Zesh infiltrate the Ryo fortress on Shikakwa, with Shay posing as their prisoner. They gain an audience with Tasha's father, Baron Volnos Ryo. It is revealed that Volnos had been an accomplice of Locke, and had commissioned him to assassinate Queen Hadia in the Despot War. Locke seduced Hadia and rose to become a general in her army, pretending to be a defector from the Jedi. He assassinated her in the middle of the night and then fought his way out of the camp, becoming the hero of the war. Elsewhere, Hawk, Rory, Seknos, and Trill track Zesh, Shay, and Locke. They make their way into the fortress through the sewers. They find the three talking with the Baron, and a fight breaks out. Locke brings down the ceiling and they flee above ground, with Zesh taking Shay once more. Seknos finds them, but is electrocuted and knocked out by Zesh. Trill then shows up, locking eyes with Zesh, her former broodmate. Rory Fenn battles Locke, but her weapon is useless against the Force Saber, and she is knocked out. Hawk arrives with his own Force Saber, however, and slams Locke against a wall. Zesh then shows up and cuts off part of Hawk's leg. Shay breaks her cuffs and duels Zesh, urging him to choose his own path and free himself from the control of Locke. Zesh turns against Locke, slashing him across the chest. He moves to land a killing blow, but is stopped by Shay. They reunite with Seknos and make preparations to return to Tython with Locke. The Dark Jedi is transferred back to Bogan, but remains defiant. He believes the Jedi must embrace the dark side to fight off the evils he saw in the vision. Hawk consults Master Ketu, confiding that he did indeed share the vision in the chasm with Locke. As the Jedi prepare for war, Hawk also shares that in his vision he saw Zesh leading the Order to battle. As for Zesh himself, he has agreed to help the Jedi learn more about the Rakata and to begin training as one of them. The forges on Tython begin mass construction of Force Sabers, and elsewhere, Trill sends a beacon to Praetor Skalnaz, informing him of Tython's location. It is revealed that Skalnaz has blocked parts of Zesh's memory, and he is unaware he is actually the pawn of Skalnaz. Now, Trill will stay undercover on Tython, and the Rakatan fleet is readied for war. The Rakatan Empire has attacked the Tython system. Master Rajivari leads a coalition of the Jedi and settled worlds against the invaders, while Dagan, Locke, and Zesh take command of the Jedi, now armed with Force Sabers. They are also aided by the Seers, who are able to predict the movements of the enemy through the Force. Presently, Zesh fights a brutal guerrilla war on Shikakwa, battling the mutated Rakatan Flesh Raiders. Shay accompanies him, channeling the dark side briefly as she provides aerial support from a Rancor dragon. Elsewhere, Seknos Wrath fights the raiders as well, helped by the still undercover Trill. The main Rakatan army falls upon Master Locke's forces, and the troops of Masters Tabe, Quanjang, and Madog are ordered to converge there. At great cost, the Rakatans are driven back, and they fall back to Skywalker. The bond between Trill and Seknos grows, as well as the connection between Zesh and Shay. Zesh seems to remember Trill as a figure from his past, but cannot recall exactly from where. It is revealed that Praetor Skalnaz believes the Rakata are losing their connection to the Force. However, he believes this can be avoided with the conquering of Tython. Additionally, the planet is home to one of the last surviving Infinity Gates. On Tython itself, Shay admits to Zesh she loves him. Zesh in turn reveals his real name is Tau. Later, the Jedi generals meet in Fortress Rio to discuss the next stages of the war. Tasha Rio, who now serves as a seer, has a foreboding vision of the fortress crumbling under waves of blood. Zesh then proposes a decisive strike against Praetor Skalnaz to end the conflict once and for all. Through his Force abilities, he is able to detect Skalnaz's fortress in the Valley of Krau on Skywalker. Unfortunately, Trill is still loyal to Skalnaz and is deep in the Jedi's council. Skalnaz is alerted to the plan and begins to prepare his own trap. The Jedi land on Skywalker but are soon ambushed and begin taking heavy casualties, and Seknos is taken captive. They battle enemy Force hounds as Shay and Zesh take comfort in their bond in the Force. Both find themselves calling on inner anger to fight the Rakata. Trill stalks Zesh, eventually running into him on accident. He senses that there is more to her than appears on the surface, but agrees to escort her to safety as he continues on to the Rakatan base. They are able to infiltrate it, where Zesh is shocked to see the Rakata have been enslaving all the Jedi who survived the battles. Among them is Seknos. Trill then strikes, stunning Zesh with Force Lightning and taking him prisoner. As the battle for Skywalker goes on, more Jedi fall deeper into anger and rage, exacerbated by the continued use of Force Sabers. It is revealed that Zesh, now a captive of Skalnaz, was ordered to sabotage the Rakatan scout ship that crashed on Tython. Now Skalnaz urges him to give up on finding balance in the Force, and Zesh complies, submitting to the Praetor's will once more. He tells him about the Jedi Seers as Dagan Locke is also brought in as a captive of Trill. He is interrogated by Zesh, and the Rakatans learn that the Infinity Gate is somewhere in the same chasm that drove Locke mad. Trill and Zesh are then ordered to strike at the Seers. Appearing to them in the Force Hounds blind the Seers just after they catch a glimpse of a battle on Anil Kesh, and they are also severed from the Force. A wave of dark energy begins to permeate across Skywalker. It weakens the Jedi and drives the Flesh Raiders into a rage, swinging the battle back to the Rakatan Empire's favor. The Jedi withdraw and also learn of Zesh's betrayal. The Order retreats to Tython to prepare to defend its homeworld, with Shae steeling herself to kill Zesh if she must. They consolidate at the Temple of Anil Kesh, but a hidden strike force of the Jedi is found on the moon of Ashla. The Ashla troops are destroyed by the Rakata as the aerial battle over Tython goes awry. The Jedi brace for the Rakatan ground attack, and Praetor Skalnaz orders the Anil Kesh temple to be preserved. Trill is ordered to lead the assault, with Zesh now taking her role as Skalnaz's force hound. While the attack commences, Skalnaz plans to take a shuttle secretly down to the surface, accompanied by Zesh and Locke. He hopes Locke will be able to lead him into the chasm and find the Infinity Gate. Tython itself becomes imbalanced once more by the raging conflict, with new force storms erupting. The dark side sweeps over the Jedi again as they fight desperately to defend their home. Skalnaz, Zesh, and Locke make it into the chasm and approach the Chaos Wall, the point where Jedi begin to go mad. The Rakatan commander reveals the gate they are searching for is actually the Prime Gate, which can serve as a portal to other worlds and does not need to be connected to another gate in order to function. Apparently, a mysterious symbol in the Tho-Yor can act as a way to bypass the Chaos Wall. Locke is left behind to the mercy of the Flesh Raiders. Meanwhile, Seknos channels his anger and is able to break free from his slave cell. He frees the other Jedi and leads a rebellion. And Tasha, asking once more for the guidance of Anang, learns that with the arrival of the Rakata, the purpose of the holocron has been achieved. She feels that Tython itself has begun to awaken. Seknos fights his way towards Zesh, tracking him in the Force. He inadvertently links up with the now freed Locke, and they fight together. Countless Flesh Raiders fall as the two look for Zesh, hoping to kill him. Shae then arrives, and flies down into the chasm after Skalnaz and Zesh. Locke leaps on her Rancor Dragon and joins her as Seknos is left behind. Skalnaz and Zesh finally reach the Prime Gate. They are followed by Seknos, who by now has reunited with the Jedi and Master Quan Jang, as well as Shae and Dagan Locke. Locke tries to get Shae to fully fall to her anger, stating Zesh has betrayed her and the entire Jedi Order. Above, Seknos encounters Trill and begins to duel her. He overpowers the Force Hound and resists the urge to kill her, instead taking her captive. Locke and Shae now find the Prime Gate, and Locke moves forward to battle Skalnaz while Shae takes on a conflicted Zesh. She urges him to remember his true identity as Tau before the Rakata turned him to the dark side. Locke enters Skalnaz's mind, but is horrified when the tables turn on him and he sees the wailing spirits of dead Jedi, victims of the Rakatan commander. Stunned, Locke freezes as Skalnaz stabs him through the chest. Skalnaz then turns and activates the Prime Gate. On the surface, Tasha Ryo is guided by Anang's holocron. She learns the Tho-Yor must be awakened to defeat the Rakata. For this to happen, Anang needs a Jedi Seer. Though Tasha is still blind, her connection to the Force can be restored, though it will cost her mortal body. Meanwhile, Shae finds herself able to forgive Tau and asks him to remember their love. Skalnaz then electrocutes her, and Tau leaps forward, attacking his master. Tasha begins the ritual, and a glowing sigil begins to appear on the Tho-Yor. Beams of energy erupt from the Temple of Anil Kesh, destroying many Rakatan ships. A beam also strikes the Prime Gate, destroying it as Tau slashes Skalnaz across the chest. The Praetor's body ignites as it falls into a pool of energy and dissolves to ashes. The Rakatans sense their commander's death in the Force and retreat. The sub-Praetors turn on each other, causing internal strife as the allied settled worlds annihilate the invaders in space. The war is over, and Shae and Tau walk into the silent desert of Tython to meditate and find themselves in the Force once more. The Jedi Masters decide it is time to set aside the Force Sabers to avoid risking further disruptions of the balance of the Force. However, Dagan Locke, who survived his wounds, refuses to do so. He leaves Tython while refusing to return to exile on Bogan. His followers, who support the use of the Force Saber in combat, will accompany him.